Our next, or the fifth session, it will be about IIOT, a CIP and Hygiene perspective. It will be presented by Mr. Tamer Al-Ashmawy. He is the Vice President and General Manager, Food and Beverage for Middle East and Africa, EcoLab. Mr. Tamer, welcome to the stage.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Sitting here. So, good afternoon, everybody. Today I'll start with a video to explain about EcoLab as a beginning, and then I will talk about the need, what is needed for us to move into the IIoT, which is the Industrial Internet of Things, and why. And then I will close the session with another video with a customer testimonial of how the Internet of Things created a huge opportunity for them. Well, obviously there's a lag.
Our world is changing rapidly. EcoLab is impacting change for the better now. By 2030, the population will reach 8.5 billion. The world will need 40% more fresh water, 35% more food, 25% more energy, exponentially more ways to stop the spread of disease. Your business will need to do more with less. Together, we'll impact water. From mining to manufacturing, conserve 300 billion gallons of water, enough for the drinking water needs of more than 1 billion people. Together, we'll impact food safety, from farms to food processing to restaurants and retail. Ensure quality for more than a quarter of the world's processed food, and the kitchens that serve over 45 billion meals. Together, we'll impact health, from pharmaceutical manufacturing to hospitals to long-term care. Clean environments, clean operations, and 31 billion clean hands. Together, we'll impact efficiency, from oil fields to refineries. Produce energy in ways that protect and preserve the environment. With our team of 48,000, EcoLab is in more than 1 million locations and more than 170 countries. We make productivity possible, everywhere and anywhere. Solve problems before they happen, globally and locally. Deliver solutions for a changing world. Together, we'll impact what matters most. EcoLab. Everywhere it matters.
So, basically, this is what EcoLab does. It's everywhere it matters. It creates an impact on the lives of across different industries. And for food and beverage specifically, EcoLab has been a major player in the cleaning and sanitation of the industry. But now, I mean, everybody was talking about the internet, and I think this has become a fact now. No need to talk about that and the importance and the future of the Internet of Things. But the connectivity that the internet created is massive. I would say the empowerment that this created in terms of shaping industries, while other industries are going down the drain, other industries are actually growing massively. For the cleaning and sanitation field, it's basically about 3 elements. The data. Do we have enough data to take the corrective actions needed? And the technology that would support us to act fast because the outcomes are quite critical, actually. They are critical because they are of creating a risk mitigation culture that was never there before. It's actually improving the product quality humongously and having cost under control. So, but the problem is that the challenge is that the amount of data available is massive. If you get a CIP, which is what the topic that we're talking about, if we get a CIP for a year and if we print all these data points, you're gonna have a massive, I mean, actually as 10 Burj Khalifa's size of stack of paper. So actually the practicality of being able to monitor that is very limited. And customers have been saying that. And the good thing that the way we work with customers is that we interact with them, we listen to them. And the main problems they face is they don't understand where the problems are. And definitely even more harder to identify opportunities. They don't know where is exactly this problem is coming from. They might have an idea, but they cannot have a definitive answer. So the whole need is better understanding our risks. How can we understand the decisions if we increase the temperature or reduce the temperature or increase the chemical dosing? What will be the impact that will affect the other parameters of the cleaning? And more importantly, what is the data that we can use? And how can we get all these 3 points in optimizing our processes or areas of focus? So any customer, I mean, all of us as customers, what we're looking for is to produce products for our consumers that are done safely, which means like you have improved quality. So we don't have any incidents, we don't want to have any injuries in the factory. We want to make sure that we are efficient, so we are minimizing downtime, utilizing our assets. And obviously, this will have a direct impact on productivity, which will improve profitability and reduce our cost. So with the ever-changing world that is unbelievably fast, now we don't have enough water. This is a fact. It's not something that we can worry about in the future. We have like Cape Town. I mean, it's not very far from us, and they had drought. I mean, it was a problem. It was a major issue. So how can we use the resources in a responsible and sustainable way? So to meet the objectives, CIP must be doing well every time. This means the cleaning has to be very effective, yet very efficient. To do that, we need to clean the pipes and tanks, affect every unit that you produce. It needs to be fast. So we don't have options that, the wash doesn't go well and there is a need to do a rewash because basically this is the downtime of production. And basically, there's not much resources that we can put it down the drain. I mean, with water, energy cost, water cost is both of them are rising. So we need to be efficient. So the 3, I would say, fundamental questions we have are, did we wash? Did we wash correctly? And are we washing optimally? And in order to do that, I mean, most of customers think that probably we're doing the right things, probably it's working. But the fact is that based on the conformance rate of wash is 62%, and this means that 38% of the washes that average food and beverage site is doing is not up to spec. And this is massive concern because the repercussions that there are more risks out there than what we have generally assumed, meaning that we have to basically make sure that the verification is done correctly. And if we do physical verification on everything, this can take us 1.75 years. I mean, that's not practical, I guess. And the whole point of the Internet of Things and how important is that is if I always try to simplify things. If we're driving a car without having a speedometer, without having a temperature control, without having fuel tank indicator, I mean, is this really, you cannot really, after you reach your destination, see if this is really working or not, right? It's not really a very smart thing to do. And this is where there should be a need to cover that issue. The other thing that most of the customers are looking for, occasional verification. So we take a sample. And taking samples is always kind of like a smart thing to do. It's smarter than doing the whole verification, right? But there are gaps. And this is an example of a customer that is doing sanitation on their line. And they are taking occasional data points check. And seems this is the parasitic acid concentration. It seems to be fine. Yeah, I mean, there are a bit of risk there, but overall, it seems doable. It seems that there are no major issues. But if you go into further details and have a 24/7, I mean, you would realize that anything above the red line is burning cash. Anything below the lower red line is basically you have a serious issue in food safety. So what do we do? What's the optimal scenario? The optimal scenario is basically to have a consistent, where we can see everything and accordingly act upon it fast to optimize our sanitation. And sanitation is a pretty critical issue. I mean, the top 15 food safety citations, and this is a US Food and Drug Administration source of data, basically 5 out of the top 15 are related to sanitation. This is where, we've heard about listeria outbreak, in some countries. This is because of sanitation, poor sanitation practices. So, and if there are citations, then there are product recalls. And regardless of the damage to the brand that this would cost, but the actual direct costs are massive, hefty price to pay. So basically, the world is moving faster into more control in food safety. We have seen the efforts here by Dubai municipality. Retailers are putting tremendous pressure, returning products, taking products off shelf. The days where shelf life or product expiry date is a measure of quality or food safety is gone. There's a new wave, much more aggressive, where retailers are asking for verifications, best practices. Who are your suppliers? Who are you working with? How can you guarantee your food safety? Is a new trend, and we have seen it globally, and it's inevitably going to come to the region. So if you do that, verifying that manually, you cannot offer what the regulators and what the retailers would be asking for. So to encapsulate what the need, basically, and why it's critical, is basically the validation and the visibility, the standardization of processes and for the CIP operation, and making sure that we optimize as we move along. So linking this together, I mean, EcoLab, working with its customers, addressed the challenges, getting technology into the matrix, into the equation, to drive quick actions and actually a lot of predictive analytics to improve the food safety and the cleaning and sanitation using the Internet of Things. And this is the answer for EcoLab. This is something that we launched globally in 2015. We started working on it in the 90s and 2000. Before getting into the detail of this, I would like to take back a bit and see how EcoLab fared during the years in terms of adding value to the cleaning and sanitation world. So in the 50s, we introduced the first CIP single use. Then in the 70s, we introduced the first spray device. And in the 80s and 90s, we kept on driving the sanitizer innovation. And globally, we launched the internet-enabled 24/7 visibility to food safety risks, which what we call 3D TRASAR for CIP. And I'm going to talk about that. What does this mean? This is basically, it's a new integrated service offering that combines the expert analysis of what EcoLab does and the specialized software that will be able to take the PLC language into regular PC language. And this offers 24, so the first D is for detect. It offers 24/7 CIP monitoring. It determines through expert analysis combined with the EcoLab team and how to uncover hidden savings and potential issues and problems, and to deliver with recommendations for action. So we go to the customers and tell them, this is what you need to do. This is the problem, and this is how you would solve it. And basically, in action, if you look at an average plant of 10 lines, 15 washes per line, 10,000 data points per wash, this would give you a 1 million plus CIP data points per plant per day. So how can you figure something out of this? This is not humanly possible with the time frame that we want. And that's why it's absolutely critical that we need to understand the wash is there or not, correctly done and optimally done, using the EcoLab service model, where we analyze the data, we go to the customers for recommended actions, and this is where you guarantee the results in quality, productivity, cost, and sustainability. How does it work? I mean, I'm trying to simplify things. I'm a physics actually graduate. I'm not a chemist, but so this can be more closer to my heart. So it's a plant it's PLC, one way, go to ECL smart box. So it's kind of like call it a black box for the sake of the discussion. And then this smart box takes raw CIP data. It actually converts to PLC language to PC language, and sends encrypted and secure data to the cloud. And this is very important because security as well for customer data is quite critical. And then we configure the 3DT CIP system from the cloud and can send the results output to any computer in the world. So actually, anyone can have access that you would say, I would like to have the quality control manager, I would like to have the plant manager. So this offers live data and remote monitoring. So for example, I mean, this is a plant where we have identified the wash conformance to 75%. And then, okay, this is not good enough. Which area and CIP with the most exceptions? And which objects within the line that is having a problem? And moreover, which recipes are having the exceptions? And once you have this data, the beauty of this is kind of like artificial intelligence. The more you do that, the more you can build kind of conforming washes, and you build kind of improve as you move along, and you have a benchmarking for your operation. So an example, we have a dairy. I mean, this is actually been very successful implementation in both dairy and beverages. And basically, we've seen how the impact in terms of savings, we saved 11,000 liters of chemicals, 3.6 million cubic meter of water, and saved 1,000, almost 300 hours of operation. This is all money and sustainability. So I would like to close my session with a customer testimonial, a video, 2 minutes video, explaining how this transformed the business for Arla, which is one of our biggest global accounts.
Arla is a global company owned by the farmers, and we work very hard in order to create the future of dairy. Our focus here is to have full control of all the relevant quality parameters, where CIP is an essential one. You need a clean plant in order to make good products.
The relationship between Arla Foods and EcoLab does benefit both companies in that way that we are changing a lot of information and knowledge.
The CIP processes are critical at Arla because we need to make sure that our plants are clean, and that the clean are as efficient as it can be, because otherwise we cannot produce good quality products.
The 3D tracer gives us a picture of how the CIP processes are running, and they have to run in a proper way from some parameters that the CIP super user at the place here has put in the system.
The 3D tracer is my eye when I'm sleeping, because you can't have an eye on everything, because you can't be here 24/7.
EcoLab's 3D tracer is actually a really great tool when it comes to following up on your cleans and making sure that they actually perform to the standard we desire.
Arla Foods needs to save on their resources, and especially on the resources regarding to CIP and cleaning systems.
It has indeed helped us to optimize our resources. It has delivered an annual saving of over 400,000 euros. And it has reduced our wastage of over 30%.
And I can go back and see if everything is okay. If the cleaning is okay, I can also see if the cleaning had sent some waste out of the dairy.
The partnership with the EcoLab means a lot to Arla, because we know we have a strong partner in our corner when we need the help.
So basically, future is here. Future is not, coming in a few years. The beauty of this system that does not require mega investments. It's actually a bolt-on system on your current, equipment. So there's no need to buy very expensive stuff or, have a major capex. It's a bolt-on, efficient, and delivers 24/7. With this, thank you very much for your time and attention. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Tamer Ashmawy. If you have any question for him, let's say, maybe I have a question for you. I will start with this. I think it's a comprehensive cost saving for the companies while during the CIP. You mentioned that about the cost as the sustainability as well.
Yes.
Now you share with our example in Denmark here. How are you doing this in the region? How far is it introduced in the region as well?
Well, actually, it is introduced. It is available in MEA region. So we have dairy application in South Africa. We have a global beverage partner as well in Turkey. I mean, the customers are adopting it, and they are actually quite keen now because it's becoming a necessity. It's becoming a need. I mean, so we are ready. I mean, but there's always a lag between introducing something in North America or in Europe and adopting these technologies in the region. But yeah, I mean, it's moving and it's moving in fast, and we're getting more interest from customers because it is a very powerful saving tool and very powerful brand protection tool.
I just recall what the percentage you mentioned, about 38%, okay, of people doing CIP, they think they are doing it efficiently, which is reflecting sometimes to the food safety, and this could create a hazard for the consumer, the final consumer.
Absolutely, there are fatalities. I mean, maybe there are not enough people talking about it because they don't want to talk about it. But yeah, there are people who are losing their lives for consuming products that are not at the utmost level of hygiene. We've seen that in listeria outbreak in South Africa, where hundreds of people, I mean, just simply lost their lives, or even pregnant women lost their babies, their fetus. I mean, it happens. It's just like, this is not something that people would like to talk about every day, obviously. They have other things that probably more pleasing to talk about. But it's happening everywhere, and it's happening in, you hear like, big companies, multinational companies are kind of like taking products back from the market, product recalls. I mean, every time you look, this is because of what? Not because customers are not interested and they would like to recall their products, because they see a risk in fatalities or a problem or damaging the image of the brand. That's why they take preventive maintenance, and this system simply avoids all of that.
Any question? Yes, there is a question here.
Assalamu alaikum. What is the infrastructure, the hardware needed for these solutions? And is it applicable for restaurants, stuff like that?
I mean, this is a very good question, actually. Starting with the equipment. I mean, this is not, as I mentioned earlier, this is not a heavy kind of like equipment solution. So if you have a modern enough, factory with PLC, this is a bolt-on, so it works. And there won't be, and actually we don't sell. The business model that we do is that it's a nominal fee for rental, basically. So it's a lease agreement rather than we sell the technology. This is one thing. So from a increment cost, it's actually almost nothing because it's very cheap compared to what you do, what you get out of. Secondly, it's very much where we're using it where there's a huge, massive water consumption. So we use that in CIP because these tankers, they need to be cleaned. This huge tanks needs to be cleaned. We are taking it into bottle washing. So, the gallon water, they need to be washed again. So the water consumption is very high. So this is where it's making a biggest impact. Taking that to other applications and restaurants, but I think this is in the development plans. I mean, it is the normal evolution of how to make it on a smaller scale, but the initial launch is to mainly cover big-scale water consumption applications.
And last question, please.
My name is Asim Rashid. Thank you very much for a very informative presentation.
Pleasure.
You're welcome. I had a question regarding the CIP percentage data that you shared. So based on your company data or evaluations, were you able to figure out that 1% efficiency improvement through the CIP process translates to roughly how many dollars of savings?
I mean, it's a very good question, but I mean, we can do that by application or by custom because it varies significantly depending on the industry and depends on your consumption of water. So we are more than pleased to help in doing kind of like working with you and your business to be able to identify the potential savings. So it varies. It's very big. It depends on your equipment. It depends on your application. It depends on your industry as well. So dairy, for example, would vary significantly if you're talking about carbonated soft drinks, for example.
Thank you, Tamer Al-Ashmawy,
Pleasure.
Vice President and General Manager for Middle East and Africa, EcoLab. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Now we will have a break for 15 minutes. We will back at 12:40, and we will have a panel discussion at 12:40. And so please stay tuned and